are incredibly high, and to be sure, there are good reasons to believe in this team, but there are also questions that will need to be answered, and we will attempt to do that here on the next couple of hours. And then, of course, the Jags will attempt to do it at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Welcome to the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium in Jacksonville and Lucas Oil Stadium in Indy. Brian Sexton and JP Shadrick with you for the first hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Mike Dempsey is out feeling a little under the weather, and so it is triple duty for you. You got all 3 hours here this morning.
It's all good. It's game day. It's week one. Finally, the Jaguars getting back to work after the playoff run last year. All this anticipation, this hype, this build-up to the regular season, well, that's all over. Now they have to go live up to that, and that's the challenge ahead. They haven't done anything yet, and they were a fumble away. You talked about the last game. They're one fumble away or anything in the last 6 games last season, not even making the playoffs and making a run. So they haven't proven anything yet. No. This team has to go start it today.
Tightest of tightropes. And look, big picture. Someone pointed out to me, rightly so, that in 2020, the Colts, led by Phillip Rivers, came in. They were 11-5 that season, but they lost an opening day to a Jaguars team that started Gardner Minshew, who played really well, but the rest of the roster was sort of an assembled cast of characters. And then, of course, the end of 2021, where the Colts came in needing to win to make the playoffs against a Jaguars team with an interim coach, and the Jaguars beat him. So anything is possible, but this Jacksonville team is really playing for something and don't appear poised to stub their toe. You ready to hear some of the stories of the week, JP?
Oh, you know it.
All right, so let's start with the fact that opening day is uncertain. I recall Doug Marrone at MetLife Stadium in New York, opening day 2018, standing in the tunnel with him, and he just blurted out, I hate opening day. Right? I said, how can you hate opening day? It's opening day. He goes, you just never know what you're going to get on opening day. And so, of course, the question was posed this week, what do you think about opening day, to Doug Peterson?
It all comes down to, obviously, the film study, the history of their coaches, where they've been, who they've coached, and then understanding, their personnel. I mean, it's interesting because we know Gus Bradley on defense. He's been there, right? Second year, in that system, and those guys and all of that, and then it's the offensive side that might be a little different, might look a little different. Obviously, a young ascending quarterback, so that could look a little different. But I think you can prepare just by going back and understanding the history of their coaches.
Plenty of uncertainties today with a new coach, a new quarterback, really a new philosophy. That was a pass-happy franchise for decades, and now they're kind of leaning towards the Eagles.
Yeah, and a lot of questions about the personnel even on that front today. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's out, but the frontline running back on the depth chart is on the injury report and doubtful, downgraded yesterday to doubtful in the game. So, do they have the horses back there to even run the type of offense that they are thinking about in Indy? And that's a good point from Doug. I mean, you can go to all these sources and all these places, but at some point you're spinning your wheels with the preparation, and you just got to get down to your own business and handle your side of it as a football team.
And they're focused on Anthony Richardson, obviously. You talked about horses. The guy's an absolute thoroughbred as a runner. Yeah. As a passer, he's a colt and just trying to figure it out. You see what I did there. All right.
See what you did there.
The Jaguars have plenty of expectations on their shoulders today. Not that they're paying any attention to them whatsoever. And, JP, we've been talking about it all through training camp and the preseason. And finally, the quarterback was asked this week, what do you think about what we think?
I don't really care, to be honest. I think it's more dangerous to have people praising you than to not have any expectations. But with the group we have, it doesn't worry me at all. I mean, I think we know how to work, come to work every day with the same mindset. But that's the biggest thing. That's why I don't really. Everyone always asks about expectations and how you deal with them. Like, you don't really deal with them. You just don't listen to them. Like, what does it matter what this guy said over here? He's not in our locker room. He's not a part of our team. And even if he said something good, we go out and lose Sunday, everyone's going to be like, oh, I told you they weren't going to be any good. So it doesn't really matter, what people say or, So we just have to keep our ship tight, and I think that's the biggest thing that coach has done a good job of is making sure we do that and managing all those expectations, because that's just they're not real. It's not a real thing. We have to go play every Sunday and put our best foot forward, and you can't do that if you're listening to what other people are saying.
Young guys, they're involved in social media. They know what's going on. They hear all these things. But when you've got your quarterback saying, who cares? Well, how do they care? I mean, it makes sense that this is a football team that stays in that locker room when it comes to their own expectations.
He's so just
good,
calm and good, and has a head about him. And I think that's only going to continue to improve as the years go along. But just from year one, everything that happened there to now, the growth just in him in front of everybody is fantastic. And it was good to begin with, but it's only going to get better and better. And then you calm everything down on the football field around him, too, with the same scheme and the same weapons. Year two in an offense. First time in the NFL, he's not had to learn a new offense. So that all combines for some great things.
I know you get the question whether you're in line at Publix or out in the community, a speaking engagement, just like I do, and that is, so how good is he really? And my answer is, you have no idea.
Yeah, he's that good. Plus some. Yeah, he could be really great. Absolutely.
And his teammates believe in him as well, and for good reason. What he's done on the field, how he carries himself in the locker room, the way that he sets the tempo with the off-field work, with the off-season work, and, of course, what they know he's capable of. And so the question was posed this week to Christian Kirk, who's coming off a career year with Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback, is how confident is this offense?
Confidence is in there, but I think I would describe it as we're just more comfortable with who we are. You know, we know who we are, we understand who we are, and, you know, we're going to own that. And kind of going back to, like, you know, we know what we're good at, and, you know, we're not going to shy away from that, and we're going to, you know, kind of beat that into what we do, and we're not going to get away from that. And so I think everybody individually and as a team are comfortable with who we are, what we stand for, and what we do best. You know, I know offensively we have that mindset, and I know as a team we have that. So I would say it's comfortability, but also, you know, confidence as well.
And why wouldn't he be coming off his career year? But to see the weapons around him, Evan Ingram is back. You know, Zay Jones had 82 catches last year, and of course, what you have with Calvin Ridley out there, how could you not be confident?
Yeah, the confidence on paper going in, right? I mean, and now they had most of these guys last year in the first half of the season throwing interceptions all over the field, right? In key moments, goal-to-go situations against Houston and in London. And, you know, so we've seen it where they're trying to maybe force some things in there. The quarterback might be forcing it. Then he kind of calmed it down, protected the football better, and they found their groove in the last half of the season. Can they pick that up early and make good decisions and take what the Colts give them today? We know Gus's defense. They're not going to try to, you know, they're going to limit those big plays.
Yeah.
You're going to get some stuff underneath today, and just take it. Just chip down the field and be patient, and don't throw it into an unnecessary risky situation.
We also kind of know what we're going to expect from Shane Steichen based on what the offensive coordinator of the Eagles last year is trying to build with these Colts in Indianapolis, and that is let Anthony Richardson do what he does, and he moves effortlessly. He's a big guy, and I had the chance this week to ask Foye Oluokun, you don't tackle guys bigger than you all that often, so what's the tackling plan for this guy?
Make sure we have eyes on him. We know that, you know, so far from preseason, it seems like he likes to get out and run, you know, especially when plays break down. So make sure we have eyes on him, and when he breaks the pocket, be able to keep running our feet through contact as if he's a runner. You know, a lot of times people might give up on a play early for the running quarterback, but, you know, stay on your feet when he pump fakes. If he does, you know, be able to break down his stiff arm when he escapes the pocket, really treat him like a runner when he's running outside the pocket with the ball in his hands.
Now, credit to Foye for answering the question, but the reality of it is that sounds like the tackling plan for Lamar Jackson or any mobile quarterback. The difference is that Anthony Richardson is 6'4" and 255 pounds, and when that kind of speed gets going, well, it's like trying to tackle Derrick Henry, and as you know, that's not easy.
Yeah, the only tackling plan I remember is Derrick Henry, right? And,
Right.
and a lot of times that didn't work out well for this team.
Right.
So, I mean, that you plan for a guy like that all week long, and then it gets real. You see him in person, and then you go after it. Now, it is the first NFL game for this guy, right? So make it tough for him. I would heat him up a little bit. See if, okay, maybe he'll get a couple runs on you, but you got to make things fast. You got to make things really flash in front of his face and see if he can handle the heat, because maybe he does a few times and you pull back, but I'd rather not sit back and let him run around and do things, force the issue, and make him maybe throw one or two up to you today.
Well, we'll find out what defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell has in store early in the ball game. Speaking of coordinators, news breaks this morning via Ian Rappaport that Press Taylor is now the play caller. So Doug Peterson, who the day he signed on here in Jacksonville said that he was going to call plays because that's what he does and he's comfortable with it, is passing the reins off to his longtime assistant, Press Taylor, which I think makes sense because Taylor is an up-and-comer and needs the play-calling experience if he's going to become a head coach. Plus, it allows Doug to do some different things during game day.
You kind of saw this evolution going. And I think even last season some. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of mixed some things in there with those two. But, Press is certainly going to be a head coach in this league if he wants to be.
He's impressive. And I asked him this week about the unselfish nature of his team. Guys that talk about wanting to win and not worrying about their stats. Some guys, they say it, but they don't necessarily mean it. But when you talk to Christian Kirk or Travis Etienne or Trevor Lawrence, they all understand it. This is where Press Taylor's influence comes in.
We believe that character is a competitive advantage. We have guys that have high character. We have guys that have high football character as well, and that our guys love to prepare. They love being in meetings. They love meeting on their own. They love practicing. And so we think that gives us, in a league of parity, some of an advantage of we know how these guys prepare and what they do. So we've invested in that. And we spend money to bring in guys. We spend time to research these guys' character, like we were talking about with Tank earlier, to research their football character, their personal character, because we feel like that adds to our building as a whole, of the energy in the room, the energy in the building, and then the way these guys approach and the preparation they put in to get ready to play on a Sunday.
I don't know about you, but it's clear to me why Doug Peterson is so confident in Press Taylor. That is a great answer to the question.
It's more than just X's and O's, and the way a person goes about their business and deals with teammates goes a long way in this building, and that was a clear answer from the offensive coordinator, a guy who designs this offense. Doug Peterson had pulled the trigger a lot. That's changing over. Let's see what it looks like today. I don't think it's going to look a whole lot different than before.
They're
That's
of like
the trick.
mind.
Yeah.
All right. You're running around all the time. By the way, more stories, more sound at the top of the next hour when JP will slide everything over his direction.
Yeah.
And he'll run the show. You're running around here on a Sunday morning. I noticed that last year. So I don't know whether you get to spend much time listening to E to the T. Come on, somebody.
I have heard this
This
many
is my
times.
favorite segment, not of this show alone, but of all the week in Jacksonville radio. The energy is infectious, and we present to you the opening day edition of Come On, Somebody.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on, somebody. Since we left Kansas City, there's been a lot on my mind. But at the top has been Jacksonville Jaguar football, baby. And it's here. Not that little play stuff. The regular season is upon us. Oh, and this right here? It's a little something I like to call Come On Somebody, where I, E to the T, allow you, the wonderful people all across the world, to express yourselves on all things Jaguars. Let's get this thing started. Come on, somebody.
I got one thing to say. Duval.
Now that's how you start this thing off. Keep it coming, my boy.
I'm going to tell y'all, my Jaguars will be in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to tell you why.
You're talking dirty to me, and I kind of like it.
You never say never as long as you got Trevor.
Never.
And I'm telling you right now, I hope we play Dallas.
Dang, what Dallas did to you like that?
Because I hope we put a whooping on them again like we did last year.
We did. But let's get past the Colts first.
And like I say, the reason I say you never say never, why don't you ask the Cowboys? They thought they had us. Trevor bought us back.
You really hate the Cowboys, huh?
Why don't you ask the Chargers? They thought they had us. Trevor bought us back.
Okay. What you think about the Colts, though?
You can ask many teams. You ain't gonna beat the Jaguars.
Dang, talking spicy. Talking like we about to go undefeated.
We got a solid squad, and we ready to roll.
Come on, somebody.
You already know.
Oh, yes, I do. What's up, Uncle Holiday?
We passed, I believe.
It's more like I know. What else you got for me, Unc?
Well, I'm going to tell everybody this right here.
We listening?
Don't be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
In 2024,
2024,
the Jaguars will win the Super Bowl.
We going to the Super Bowl, and we gonna win that.
How about them Jags?
Put the metal to the pedal.
Hold on, Unc. Say that again?
Put the metal to the pedal.
I thought that's what you said. Unc, you just put the Jags in the Super Bowl. I don't care if you put the metal to the pedal to the metal, whatever. We going to the Super Bowl. It's week 1, and it's time to go. Colts, we on your heels. Come on, somebody.
Radio magic.
Well, it's the energy in the city is out there. There's no doubt about that, about this football team. And the way it finished last year and just the build-up and the hype this whole offseason, the additions, everything to go with it, it all comes to today.
Yeah. Here we go.
We're here.
And we got a lot more here coming up next.
God is in control, so I'm going to let him work, but I'm definitely home.
That's Evan Ingram. He's this week's Baptist Health Player Feature. The Colts and the Jaguars coming up less than 3 hours away. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguar sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities Program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Publix Tailgate Show continues from the Hyundai Studios here at EverBank Stadium in Jacksonville. Brian Sexton along with JP Shadrick. Nice to have you today, pal.
Hey, it's good to be with you, man. Here we are. Week 1. Mike Dempsey's out today. We'll get him back next week. But Jaguars Colts divisional game, Week 1, right out of the gate.
Less than 3 hours away,
Let's
without a doubt. And by the way, since you bring that up, the front end of the schedule here gives the Jaguars really a lot of motivation. You're talking about 2 division games in the first 3, both against rebuilding teams with rookie quarterbacks. And then sandwiched in the middle of that is obviously Kansas City in week 2. And we're starting to talk about now home field advantage in the playoffs goes through that Kansas City game. So there's a lot on the line here starting on opening day.
I mean, the first 6 weeks, right? I mean, it's Kansas City next week here. Texans here, London against the Falcons. You get the Bills in London, not in Orchard Park. That's huge. And then the Colts again in Week 6. Yeah. Like, you're getting Richardson twice early in the season to get that out of the way and hopefully take a couple of wins from them. So you're set up for a good start. You'll find out, I think, in the first month and a half if this team is really in the mix for that number 1 seed.
Well, Peter King from NBC Sports picked the Jaguars to have home field advantage when the AFC playoffs start, and Pete Prisco picked the Jaguars to go to the Super Bowl. So obviously the question to him is, in his visit with Mike Dempsey this week, why are you so high on the Jaguars?
Well, I think the offense is going to be so explosive, Mike. I think when you look at it, I think they have a real chance to score 500 points. The addition of Ridley changes that offense even more than it was a year ago, which is big. And Trevor Lawrence feels like he's good now. I mean, there's a point in the quarterback's career where he says, I'm good, and he knows he's good, and I think that'll show up. And the schedule's favorable. I mean, you play a bad division, you play a bad second division in the NFC South, and you got a lot of the key games in spots where you need them, including Kansas City in Week 2 and Buffalo in London, which should be in Buffalo. So I think the schedule's favorable. They'll end up with the number 1 seed, win 2 playoff games, and get to the Super Bowl.
There you go. I think every Jaguar fan would take that right now. So let's fast forward to late January, but we can't do that, Pete. So tell us, other than injury, which can derail any team, if the Jags are not going to fulfill their potential this year, what will be the main culprit?
Well, I think it'll be the lack of the pass rush. As good as they will be on offense, you still have to be able to get the other guy's quarterback on the ground. And, you know, there are expectations when you have the number 1 overall pick on one side and top 10 pick on the other. So Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker need to have big seasons. If they don't, and they can't consistently influence the quarterback on the other side, then I think that's going to be a problem. And that would be the ultimate reason for their derailment, because there are so many good quarterbacks in the AFC.
Well, you talk about all the things lining up for the Jags. One of those is, for instance, Jonathan Taylor not playing today, unavailable for at least the first 4 games for Indianapolis this year, and a rookie quarterback at the helm in Anthony Richardson. What are you expecting out of Richardson, and how do you devise a game plan going up against a guy that you haven't seen play at the NFL level?
Yeah, I think you have to go back and look at the way Shane Steichen used Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. If you're trying to come up with a game plan, look at what they did with him. And I think that's your kind of like a little hint into what they'll do with Anthony Richardson. They'll get him outside the pocket. They'll use him on those RPOs. They'll get him in the run game. And so from that standpoint, I think you have to look at it that he's a bigger version of Jalen Hurts, you know, not as good, not as experienced, but the style will be the same. That's the way you have to prepare for Anthony Richardson, because he's going to have some big wild plays. You got to hope to contain him and keep him inside the pocket.
Who's the key player defensively today, Pete?
Well, I think Devin Lloyd's going to be important in this game. And the reason I say that is, you know, whether they bring him on pressures, whether they spy him in certain situations to keep Anthony Richardson in the pocket, Devin Lloyd's looked different this summer, much more confident, much more aware of this defensive surroundings, and he has the speed to go chase down a guy like Anthony Richardson. So I think Devin Lloyd could be key.
All right, offensively, the Jags are loaded. We know that. But Gus Bradley likes to play kind of a bend-but-don't-break defense. What's the game plan for this offense for the Jaguars today?
Patience. You know, you mentioned it. That's what Gus has done in his career. He's done a great job against guys like Patrick Mahomes in his career because he's made him be patient. And I think that's what they're going to have to do, is be patient. Sure, there might be some opportunities for some shots down the field eventually, but early in that game, you got to take what's there. And I think Trevor Lawrence has evolved into that. He's become a much more patient quarterback. And they also do a great job of predetermining where they're going with the ball and getting the ball out quickly. And I think that's how you attack those off coverages. So I do think patience is the most important thing.
All right, with the addition of Calvin Ridley and another year of maturation and in the offense for a second season, is Trevor Lawrence, if the Jags are the number 1 seed in the AFC, a legit MVP candidate this year?
Oh, I picked them to win the MVP, Mike. I think for that exact reason. If they're the number 1 seed and he puts up the type of numbers I think he's going to put up, which is, you know, 4,800 yards and maybe 37, 38 touchdown passes, then, yeah, he will be the MVP. And I think there's a legitimate shot for him to do that. He's so much better than he was a year ago at this time. And offensively, they're so much better than they were a year ago. You mentioned Ridley. It just changes the way they play. He can give you that go ball down the field, but he also helps open up everything else in the middle of the field. So, yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence is a legitimate MVP candidate. In fact, I picked them to win it.
Pete loves offense.
Yeah.
He always has loved offense. Yeah. It's clear why he is so high on this football team. You do a show with him and Tony Baselli every Monday night. He is not enthusiastic and effusive in praise for many things. So when I hear this interview with him, I think he thinks the Jaguars really have it.
Yeah, he doesn't hide his emotions, right? I mean, and if he thinks it stinks, he'll tell you it stinks. Like he's not going to go hide behind anything. If he thinks it's really good and has a chance to be, you just heard it. I mean, that's Pete Prisco throwing it out there, and he doesn't throw it out there unless he truly believes in what he's saying. So we'll see. He's still got to go do it, right? I mean, we talked about that already today. You can't win the MVP by not playing well.
Yeah.
So go out there and play well starting today. It's got to be all 17 games.
You know, JP, a guy who did it last year was tight end Evan Ingram. Remember, he came in and the Jaguars wanted a multi-year deal. He said no. He said he'll pass. He was going to bet on himself and a second-year quarterback, and he would pass on the long-term deal, play it out, and they would see. And the Jaguars did. Now, it took all offseason to get the right numbers in place so the deal could get done, but they eventually got it done. And this year, right, is entirely different from Evan Ingram's perspective. Last year, he saw a young team that needed to learn how to win. This year, he sees a different team.
Hungry, excited, talented, stacked, really humble. I can go on for days. We have a great team right now. We're really chomping at the bit to get going.
Is it fair for me to even ask, can you pick up where you left off, or is it a completely new beginning?
I think it's a sense of both, honestly. Like, we definitely want to get back to the explosive offense that we know we are, that we kind of became last year, but also embrace a new chapter for us as a team. Last year we kind of, we were the cardiac cats or whatever, and this year, we want to be a dominant team. I think both, it goes for both. We wanted to obviously pick up where we left off, but we want to be a little bit more dominant and, kind of enforce our will a lot more consistently.
Have you seen those traits through the preseason? What are you looking for?
Every day. I think one, the depth we have, the guys, that came in, the young guys that got most of the reps in the preseason. They won those games. We went 3-0 in the preseason, and that is not taken lightly in this league. And you look at all the veteran guys, adding Calvin, even bringing in Tank. I mean, we have a great mindset around the team. I think that's going to be big for us.
I'm not sure who had a bigger smile the day you signed, you or Trevor. Can you give us a sense of that relationship and how it's evolved and where it's at today?
Man, it's really cool. Just even, looking back from day one when I met him when I first got here last year, a year and a half ago, to now, just, seeing his growth up front and personal, and also feeling our growth as a connection and seeing his connection with Christian grow and Zay, and now him and Calvin are building. Like, I know firsthand his capabilities as a quarterback and as a quarterback, making relationships with his players, with his teammates. But I'm just really, really excited about his future. Just how much he's grown, how much his confidence has risen, how he's really taken control of the huddle and the team this training camp. And the dude's a baller. I can't wait to get out there with him and keep building what we started last year.
You've been around since 2017. Opening day still bring, that energy, that emotion, that excitement, or is it just another game?
Nah, definitely it's still... It gets real. I just got goosebumps you talking about it. So it definitely it always hits the same. It's the first week of the long grind, but this year is a little different. This year is definitely the most excited I've been about this team, about the team I'm on, the most confident about the team I'm on. So Sunday is going to be a tad bit different just because my confidence is really through the roof about all my guys.
It's only year 2, but you got the new deal. Home? You feel like this is home?
Without a doubt. I love it. My family loves it. We're looking at houses. This is a great spot just for my peace of mind, my family, this fan base, the sleeping giant that is going to continue to awaken this year, and definitely looking forward to leaving a legacy here. And God is in control, so I'm gonna let Him work. But I'm definitely home, and hope to end my days here in the NFL for sure.
JP, he of all people personifies the idea of who you gonna take away, right?
Yeah,
you
right.
take Calvin Ridley away,
sure.
Then you got to deal with Kirk and Zay Jones and Etienne, and then this guy. I think Evan Ingram, not just because of the money or the relationship, but he's poised to have a huge year because there are so many options for Trevor Lawrence. I'm just not sure how a defense covers him. You can't put a linebacker on him and expect to take him away.
No, he's too quick, and we saw that as the season went along last year. Really settled into this offense. Today, I think, is an Evan Ingram day. If they're going to go down the field, 5-7 yards a pop, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram are going to be those guys that are catching those and maybe extending it out with runs after catch. So expect a big day from him. It just kind of got my head going a little bit. And we talked about this, I think, with John Ozier at some point this week. It makes a lot of sense. This is the team right here, this Jaguars team, before all the contract things really have to happen. This group is together on offense. You've got the offensive line, some big names there. Defensively, they're all back before Josh Allen's contract is up, all that. This is the year that everybody's together.
Right.
This is the one right here. And then it won't ever be the same again. There'll be guys that go away, free agency,
You'll have to
whatever
include
happens.
younger guys in because of the salary cap constrictions.
Everybody's back. And that is so rare in the NFL to have your core nucleus of a team back on both sides of the ball. You got to go take advantage.
If you take your excitement level to that depth to understand what's possible with this team, the schedule, the players, what's coming with the salary cap, there are great reasons to really be geeked up about what's coming.
It's like Calvin Ridley told me a couple weeks ago, we just got to go play good.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the parts.
Right.
We got the horses here. We just got to go play now. Well, they're going to start playing today at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Finally.
Hey, coming up in 15 minutes, we'll have Tony Baselli and Jeff Loggeman join us from the booth. But Chad Hall, the wide receivers coach, is a guy who is every bit as energetic as his wide receivers.
Well, I mean, everyone at this level is the best in the whole world. So how can you be a little bit better?
He wants to challenge those guys to play their best starting today in Indianapolis. He is up next on our show. And the Jaguars and Colts coming up at 1 o'clock in Week 1. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show, where shopping is a pleasure.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Tackle your marketing needs with Kessler Creative. Providing direct mail services for more than a decade, Kessler has a wide range of services from small mailers to large banners and signs. Draft Kessler as your first pick to receive the best targeted mail list. Elevate your business and be on the winning team with Kessler Creative. Kessler Creative, results-driven marketing and proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information. Football and Miller Lite. Duval's greatest pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going well past postgame. Sunday night overtime.
For the touchdown.
Followed by Monday morning pride. Knocking on bar tops for luck. Kicking back on any given Sunday. You never forget the way some things taste. Jags football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
We've spent a lot of time in our homes.
I'm on a Zoom call. Dinner's ready.
But we've learned that when we love our home, it loves us right back. Now you can keep that love going when you install energy-efficient natural gas appliances and earn up to $1,925 in cash rebates. You'll love endless hot water, faster drying and cooking times, and ongoing savings and comfort. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
And welcome back to the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium. Brian Sexton along with JP Shadrick here on the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The Jaguars and Colts kick off the 2023 season at 1 o'clock at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. And now it's time here in hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show for Rick Ballou.
All right, Jag fans, finally it is here. Big afternoon ahead as the Jags open up their season in Indianapolis after all of the preseason hype and the expectations. Deservedly so. Very impressive training camp. Without any question, the best one that I've ever seen. Today, for starters, got to go to a place that's kind of been the house of horrors, right? They've lost 9 out of their last 10 at Lucas Oil Stadium. However, they're taking on an organization that is completely dysfunctional. They're right there with Arizona, and the Cardinals are already prepping for the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 draft. That's not the case here for the Colts. They got their QB in Anthony Richardson, and he's the only way that they win this game. If you don't let him beat you with his legs, Jaguars win today in a big way. The offseason and early on throughout training camp, it was so noticeable. The weight difference, the size in Trevor Lawrence, and what he's been able to do has been absolutely nothing short of outstanding. You add to that Calvin Ridley and Tank Bigsby. Where will this offense go? Trevor and company goes up against 2 undrafted 2022 defensive backs, guys with no experience. 174 snaps for one of the corners. The other has never played a defensive snap in the NFL. For Jacksonville, it's all about starting fast. They improved from a year ago, 7.6 to 11, but still, Jag fans would like to see them get things rolling early. If I was to say to anyone right now, defensively, at 20.6 points allowed a game, you take it. Can they maintain? Yeah, there's more problems on the defense than the offense. If you can keep that number, how many wins for the 2023 Jaguars? For what it's worth, I think today it gets ugly. I think the Jags drop a huge number on the Indianapolis Colts and get ready for their major showdown back in Duval against the Chiefs.
All right, Jaguars and Colts coming up at 1 o'clock. Brian and JP with you. Have you had a chance to spend much time around Chad Hall, the Jaguars' new receivers coach?
A little bit, and it's an interesting conversation with him. His approach on the practice field is quite technical, but above the shoulders too. He loves to get close to this group, and it is a cerebral group at wide receiver on this team.
Very detail-oriented. He went to the Air Force Academy. Yeah. You may recall that he had 272 yards in a game against Notre Dame back in 2010, and that was when the Air Force upset Notre Dame. I mean, that's a huge deal. He also spent a couple years active duty as a member of the Black Widow Squadron. I mean, this is a guy with some serious credentials. Landed in Philly as an undrafted rookie and really has never left the league and was doing quite well with Buffalo and the receivers for Josh Allen up in Western New York. So the obvious question when I caught up with him this week is, what pulled you out of Buffalo?
Change is good sometimes, you know. It was a blessing up there. I'm grateful for that opportunity. Just being able to get in the league, I'm grateful for Coach McDermott for everything he did for me. And now, just moving with Coach Peterson, who I knew from Philly as well. So another person I've known for over a decade. And it's good. New change, new group, new people, create new relationships. So loving it.
I've been watching you throughout training camp, and there's such an attention to detail, real precise. Every little move seems so orchestrated in your practice time. What's the genesis of that, and what do you hope to achieve?
Well, I mean, everyone at this level is the best in the whole world. So how can you be a little bit better? What are, and every receiver in my room has different strengths and weaknesses. So I have to watch them for about an off season, then I can figure it out now. How can I pinpoint to make something better, make a weakness a strength? Because their strengths are strengths, they're the best in the world. How can I bring those weaknesses up? And they're not like real weaknesses, but weaknesses compared to their game. So those details are important, and if you can just get 1 or 2 details here and there, their whole game rises.
Where do you get some of the ideas for the drills that you do, whether it's the gloves that you're working on or the tall sticks that you had guys moving through? I don't want to say unorthodox because everything is unorthodox in the NFL, but where do you come up with your ideas?
it's a lot of thought, a lot of creativity, and at first it's trial and error. I've never seen them. I just think, all right, how do I get them in this position to get them better at this movement? And so it's a lot of trial and error, and I'll ask the old guys, hey, what'd you think about that? Did that help or not? If it did, great. If it didn't, great. But that's part of doing it. It's just being creative and finding different ways to get their bodies in that position without taxing them, because now we're about to go through a full practice. So it's getting technique work, but without exhausting them at the same time.
You saw a pretty good passing attack, better than pretty good, in Buffalo. What's your initial impression of what you've seen so far from Trevor and the relationship that he's built in a year with this receiving corps?
Trevor's great. He's mature beyond his years. He's, 23, but he's got everything buttoned up his whole life, everything off the field. He's married, and all he cares is ball. He wants to win no matter what, at all costs. He's an outspoken leader, which is great to see at his age. He'll stop meetings and talk. Hey, no, I want it this way. So he's great. He's again, just mature beyond his years. That's how I describe him. And he's a fantastic leader. And he's got the talent. Now it's just, more experience, the better you get in this league.
Christian Kirk strikes me as a real similar personality. Zay's a little bit out there. He's got a very broad perspective on life. You've got a different group. How do you merge all the different personalities, Chad, into a room that works together well?
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. It's part of getting together outside this building. We have dinners, just wide receiver dinners with our whole families, people meeting everybody. Not only just their football stuff, but their background, where they're from, who they're close to. I think if you get to know someone, then the more willing you're more willing to sacrifice for them, or you just become more selfless. And whatever it takes, you just want everybody to do great. And that's the culture, that's the environment. Just trying to create a loving environment, which is weird to say on the NFL football field, modern day gladiatorism, but that's what I try to create in our room. And then when we get out here, when the bullets are flying, we're just all for each other.
Do you know what to expect from Calvin Ridley? You kind of know what the other guys, because you saw tape from last year. Calvin hasn't played in almost 2 years. What's your expectation of how he performs in week one?
He's going to pick up right where he left off. People have asked me that. He hadn't played in 2 years. Well, I was half the athlete he was. I went, I had the privilege to go serve for 2 years after I graduated college, and then I kept playing. So if I can do it, I know he can do it. So I'm just excited for him. I know he's going to be, almost, I just got to keep him calm and keep him steady, because he's just ready for this moment. It's been a long time, but he's been working his ass off, so he's ready.
Well, let's close with this then. How did your time at the Air Force Academy and in the service help you, prepare you for being in the NFL and being a coach at this level?
I think, the first thing you mentioned, attention to detail. That's the military. Every single thing, they're in the screw loose. They're in the shoe untied. It is discipline and attention to detail, and then time management. We're here a ton, but how can you manage your time, especially with the guys? They're only here a certain amount of time, to get the most out of them that you can, whether it's in the film room, out here. So those couple of things, attention to detail, discipline. We have a discipline, a no mental mistake room, and then time management, just getting the most out of your time.
I love Wednesday afternoons, going out onto the field after practice and grabbing an assistant coach. Doug's got a really good staff and great guys to talk to. He might be my favorite already.
That's a fascinating conversation, and just the balance of the different personalities in that room. Yes, they're all professionals. Yes, they're all pretty sharp guys, it feels like, but they are different personalities, and you went through it a little bit, describing some of them, and that was spot on, I thought. But, the opposites attract sometimes. Yeah. You need a different type of perspective on life and all that, sure, but football. You have different experiences, different things, different skill sets for these players, and getting that all to work as one. It'll be. He did a great job with it, or they did a great job with it last year. Without him, he can only bring that experience as a coach and different rooms he's been in to this group, and that's a great combination.
Do you remember Press Taylor's comment from training camp about Chad Hall? He was asked, what was it about Chad that, that attracted you to bring him down from Buffalo? And he said, well, look, if you just turn on the tape, and we all see tapes of other teams as we're looking through the film all week long, you see this guy running up and down the sidelines, his energy level. Let me tell you, that's exactly the way that Chad Hall works the game. And he was fun to talk to, and looking forward to bringing you that interview every week, and you'll hear from him throughout the course of the season. Hey, if you're looking for an MVP of the truck game, look no further than Ford F-150. Loaded with impressive capability and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between, this truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. At 11 o'clock, hour number 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. But before we get there, Jeff Loggeman and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli join us from the booth. Jags and Colts coming up at 1 o'clock here on the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hey Jags Nation, it's Andre Sisco, safety of your Jacksonville Jaguars, here to talk to you about Lou Ray Peanut Company. Lou Ray is bringing something to the market that has never been done before, microwavable boiled peanuts. Whether you like salty or a peppery Cajun kick, they've got you covered. Now, thanks to them, y'all can enjoy boiled peanuts at the bank while you watch me and the rest of the team tear it up on the field. Can't make the game? No sweat. Find a bag at a store nearest to you by heading to LouRayPeanut.com/find us. Go nuts, go Jags, and as always, Duval.
Hey, Jags fans, EverBank is driven by performance, strength, and security. Start building your legacy today with EverBank's Yield Pledge accounts, all of which deliver a yield in the top 5% of competitive accounts nationwide. Visit everbank.com/Jaguars for your earned advantage. EverBank, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Everyone wins when two great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan nacho carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your Workforce Solutions Reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
Welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Brian Sexton, JP Shadrick with you here from the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium. The Jaguars and Colts kicking off opening day 2023 at 1 o'clock this afternoon. If you're a Jags fan who's always on the move, we've got the perfect plan for you. With our bundle at the bank, you can purchase tickets to 3 or more games starting at only $58 per game. Get the flexibility you want for your time this fall. Visit Jaguars.com/tickets or dial them up, 904-633-2000. And now, time for the first rounds on us. And Jeff Loggeman and Tony Baselli join us from the broadcast booth at Lucas Oil Stadium. Gentlemen, good morning. Happy opening day to you.
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Brian. How you doing?
Doing very, very well. I have your buddy JP with me here in the first hour.
What's up, JP?
Hey, guys.
You playing analyst with us this morning?
It's been a while. Good to talk to you guys. I haven't talked to you in like a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So time for our UF Health Finding Solutions. UF Health delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. Okay, so my analysis here, you can correct me, and you always have if I'm wrong. The threat today is the rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson. So you tell me, what's the game plan with a mobile quarterback who's this big? I mean, he's Cam Newton-esque in terms of his size, his strength, and his mobility. So how do you handle a guy like this?
I think you have to keep your eyes on him, and you do that by playing a lot of zone coverage so that you can come up and tackle him well, because you're going to see a lot of that RPO, read option. He's going to break the pocket and scramble. And they're going to try to rely on a running game. So, I mean, just keep everybody's eyes at him. And, Tony, if you do that and you tackle well, I think it's hard for the Colts to do anything.
Well, Jeff, I would agree with you. And one thing I would add is you want to force him to operate from the pocket. And so look for a very disciplined rush plan. This is not a guy you can just go all out, Jeff, where you can just, forget about your rush lane, take a chance. Because if you take a chance and miss him, and you get out of your lane, it could be a huge play because he's that athletic and he has that ability to use his legs. And so I don't think he's ready as a rookie quarterback. Only played, 13 games, started 13 games at University of Florida. So he does not have a lot of experience. He is super, uber talented as far as athletically. I've been talking to people over this past week, super smart.
But a 54.7%
but not
passer.
Super accurate.
Yes.
And so make him beat you from the pocket, and if you force that, I don't think the Colts have a chance.
Yeah, and I think they're going to design a game plan, Brian and JP, that's going to be utilizing his legs to try to take the pressure off of him using his arm. And I think if the Jaguars do a good job of making sure, like Tony's talking about, that he stays in the pocket, and you can accomplish that a couple ways. You control rush, where you have everybody kind of bull rushing.
The old mush rush.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that if you don't get pressure on him, that's okay.
Yeah, make him beat you from the pocket.
Yes, and Tony's dead on there, because the reality is when Anthony Richardson, watching him in the preseason film, guys, when he sees a flash – man, his eyes drop, and he's gone.
Jeff, as a defensive end, and going into a game like this, how did that impact your rush? Because you're playing against a mobile, slowed you down a little bit.
That's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay, because you know what? Do you want to win, or do you want to be selfish and just have a sack?
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is you want to keep him in a pocket, and so you control rush, and so you can go one way or the other, and that goes for defensive tackles too.
Guys, Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, this morning with a story that the new full-time play caller for the Jags on offense is offensive coordinator Press Taylor. What does that change for the Jaguars, if anything, if anything or much at all?
Well, did you guys also read in the article that Doug Peterson was letting him call plays in the second half of the games last year?
Yes.
Okay, well, look, obviously, Press Taylor's a better play caller. Look at the second half of the Chargers game.
I was thinking the same thing, Jeff.
No, I'm just joking. I mean, look, it's time, and those two guys have worked together a long time. And as Doug said, I got total trust in Press Taylor. So, look, let him call the plays. It's great.
I think it's a non-story, because if you think Doug Peterson's not going to still be in the ear of Press Taylor, then you're crazy.
That's right.
I mean, so this is. I mean, Press said this in the preseason this year in camp, that it's always been a back and forth between the two of them, really calling the game together. Now, I think Doug's just saying, listen, Press is not only the coordinator, he's the play caller, but Doug's still going to influence what this game's about.
If it's 4th and 1 on the plus 30, okay, Doug Peterson's calling the play.
He's going to at least whisper into Press's ear, say, I like this. But I also think, and I thought this before this announcement, this is the beginning of Press Taylor being a head coach. And because I think this offense is going to be dynamic, and Press Taylor will be on the interview circuit next year if this offense has success and this team, does what we think they should and win the division and do something in the playoffs. Press will be a hot commodity next year.
And then, obviously, with the brother already in place as a head coach somewhere.
Doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Zach Taylor does a great job.
Going to start putting 2 and 2 together, and And everybody wants the hot, young offensive coach, and that's okay. And that's just the way it should be. And
well, wouldn't it be nice to have – it's been a long time since an assistant from here was the hot guy in a head coaching search.
Yeah, I'm all for it because it means this team and
It's
this
good.
offense is good.
That's right.
And winning games
Those
and
are all good
scoring
things.
a lot of points.
That's right.
Hey, how about a thought on the offensive line? I mean, it was a question. It was a storyline during training camp because you knew you were going to play without your veteran left tackle for at least the first month of the season, and you also knew that you were going to have a rookie starting on the right side in place of Jawan Taylor. So today, Grover Stewart is a good nose tackle. DeForest Buckner can be a game wrecker. We'll find out if he's active coming up here in the next half hour or so. And Kwity Paye is a guy who can get off the edge. What do you expect from the offensive line, today and the first month of the season?
Well, the real test is for the interior three, Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. I don't think they have a bunch of scary guys on the edge. They have capable guys, but not scary guys. And I have confidence in Walker Little. I think if you look what he did at the end of last season, I thought he had a good camp. I mean, so that's not really a question, and that's where Cam would have, that's where Cam, him being out, you would think that's your biggest worry. It's not. I think what I'll be watching today early is the left guard, Ben Bartch, who had limited time in the offseason and preseason camp, and he has a big test between those two big guys we just talked about, Brian. And then obviously, first start, Anton Harrison, shoulder banged up during the season, during the camp. We all talked about that. But your first action with the live bullets out there, this is the real deal. There'll be some nerves, but I expect Press Taylor and Doug to help him out a little bit. Don't be surprised if you get some chips going that way.
Yeah, and let me just add this. Look, you're playing a full game for the first time. This goes for offensive line, defensive line, everybody.
Conditioning.
So in the preseason, what do they take? Maybe 20 to 30 snaps. I mean, most of the frontline guys total. And then now you're going to be looking at playing 65 to 75, maybe 80. So a little bit of a wild card in week one, usually in the National Football League.
And, Jeff, that's why, and guys, crazy stuff always happens week one. There will be today a couple surprise upsets that no one saw. And I think that usually happens when a team that's favored and, has everything coming into this game is a little bit sloppy, turns it over, not quite focused, conditioning comes into play, and you're shocked at the end of it. And I think today, the Jaguars, we are a much better team than the Colts. They got the rookie quarterback, all the things we talked about. And if the Jaguars come out focused, play a clean game, I don't think it's an issue. But if you get a little bit sloppy and don't protect that ball, you can wake up in the fourth quarter in a shootout.
All right, fellas, have a good broadcast today. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, boys.
Thanks, guys.
That'll do it for hour number one. Hour number two of the Publix Tailgate Show with J.P. Shadrick driving the boat is right around the corner. Thanks for joining us for hour number one of the Publix Tailgate Show here on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
It's storm season, And JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late. Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
It's hour number 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. 2 hours away from Week 1 kickoff weekend. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium. 1:02 the official kickoff time. JP Shadrick with Brian Sexton from the Hyundai Studios. Mike Dempsey out today. He'll be back with us next week. And at long last, Brian.
Yes.
Real football today at 1 o'clock.
I've heard that. And I've sensed an excitement in Jacksonville that football is back. Friday nights are phenomenal. I love it. Saturdays, always big around Jacksonville.
Sure.
But, JP, this year with this team, it's all about Sundays in North Florida.
Yeah, and we'll find out today if they can live up to some of the hype, at least, of this offseason. There's been a lot of it, but at some point you got to go play and live up to that.
But it's hard not to see what you've got here with the quarterback, the wide receivers, the running backs, the coaching staff, the schedule. I mean, it sure looks like this is going to be a team that lives up to at least being fun to watch. Whether they can close out games, especially as they did or struggled to do in the first half of the season last year, that'll be the difference.
Game day weather is brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. Currently in Jacksonville, 86 degrees, a high of 90 today, mostly sunny. Sunny and beautiful in Indianapolis, 68 degrees currently, a high of 80. Jim Irsay tweeted today, though, that the roof will be closed at Lucas Oil Stadium.
I've never understood why they even bothered to spend the extra $175 million. Think about what $175 million is the Miller Electric Center, right?
Yeah, right.
And you spent that on a roof that you never opened. Nice job, guys.
Here are some of today's top stories, starting with head coach Doug Peterson. It's week 1. What does he want to see from this football team?
You know, I want to see, we're on the road week 1, division opponent in a dome. It's going to be a great atmosphere. It's a 1 o'clock game. We didn't handle the road great last year. We didn't handle this opponent on the road great last year. Quite frankly, they've beaten us. I think 9 out of the last 10, and so we've got our work cut out for us. So the unknown is just, hey, how are we going to respond to that?
Yeah, and Indy has been one of the worst places for the Jaguars to go. They have lost 9 of the last 10 trips there. The last win up in Indianapolis was 2017. They inexplicably lost there last year on a touchdown with 14 seconds to go from Matt Ryan over Shaq Griffin.
One of the reasons why the Jaguars have struggled to play, obviously great quarterbacks early in the history of Lucas Oil Field, but that Colts team is always built to play fast. Both offensively, they build a lead. Defensively, they attack the quarterback. Today, it's interesting. I want to watch the Jaguars play fast because they showed us the ability to play like those Colts teams do in the game against the Dolphins out here. They were up and down the field doing whatever they wanted to do. I expect them to thrive in that environment today, in part because the Colts are not the Colts of years past, but also because they're built to play in this environment.
Hard to play fast if you don't start fast. That's the goal for offensive coordinator and now full-time play caller Press Taylor.
It's just understanding our plan, who's doing what, making sure we have the right plays, making sure everybody is prepared for the moment and as confident as possible and executing their job at a high level. There's no secret sauce. I think every team tries to go out and score early is generally the ultimate goal.
Yeah, so execute. Don't get overwhelmed with the environment and the opening day and the things, and go play your offense. And whatever that looks like. We don't know what it looks like yet. It's this new football team.
Right.
You have an idea, but go play.
Well, let me ask you, what would be your call if you were Press Taylor on the first play of the game?
What
would
they
you hand it to
showing
Tank
us?
Bigsby? I mean, what would you do?
I mean, I don't know if I'd turn around and just hand it off up the middle in I formation or anything.
Not me, man. I'm
no,
dropping
I mean,
back.
you got
and
all these receivers?
Yeah.
Come on.
I am going deep. I'm looking like the Raiders of the 70s on the first play. 4 wide, everything's a deep route, and across the middle I send Travis Etienne to dump it off if I want.
They're going to go get some track athletes
Well, I'm
next
backing
year
him
to
off.
play.
At the very least, I'm backing him off the line of scrimmage.
And then it opens up some running stuff.
100%. I'm letting him know I am not scared to take any shot I want today.
Play action, throw one
All
over
of
the
it.
top. Come
All
on.
of it.
Let's go.
Right.
I like all that for sure. I'm sure Trevor Lawrence would love some of that as well. The expectations for the Jaguars from the outsiders, sky high. Trevor Lawrence doesn't worry it too much.
Everyone always asks about expectations and how you deal with them. Like, you don't really deal with them, you just don't listen to them. Like, what does it matter what this guy said over here? He's not in our locker room, he's not a part of our team. And even if he said something good, we go out and lose Sunday, everyone's going to be like, oh, I told you they weren't going to be any good. So it doesn't really matter, what people say or, so we just have to keep our ship tight. And I think that's the biggest thing that coach has done a good job of is making sure we do that and managing all those expectations, because that's just, they're not real. It's not a real thing. We have to go play every Sunday and put our best foot forward, and you can't do that if you're listening to what other people are saying.
He is mature. He is maturing as the years go along. He's still young, 23 years old, and he's got weapons all around him, play callers galore, and the sky's the limit this year.
We got a taste of how mature he is back in 2021 as he stepped up to the microphone after loss after loss after loss when they fired the former coach. I mean, when things got stupid that year, he was so steady. So here he is now with a really good football team, and he is so much more advanced. If you're Doug Peterson and Press Taylor and Mike McCoy, the quarterback's coach, how good do you feel with that guy no matter what situation he's in? He is just so good, and as I said earlier, JP, the sky, the opportunity for him is so much bigger. I can't wait.
Got to go do it.
Yep.
Got to go execute now. That's the trick. Now let's flip it around to the other side. Defending the Indianapolis Colts attack, whatever that looks like today. Defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell knows that there is one player that for sure will be out there and will be priority number one. It's quarterback Anthony Richardson. How do you defend him?
He's a great athlete. He's developing into a quarterback. You see him make great throws at times, but the wild card is you never know where he's going to be. He can scramble at any time. They can use him in many different ways. So the unknown's there. We've gone back and tried to study as much as we can as far as what they like to do with young quarterbacks and how Florida used him. But at the end of the day, we're going to go out there and do what we've been, programmed to do. Go out there and play hard-nosed defense.
And from a defensive lineman's perspective, stopping the run, the focus this week. Roy Robertson-Harris had plenty to say about that, and Richardson.
We want to stop the run. That's the most important thing right now. Stop the run so you can have fun. Everybody wants sacks. You got to earn that right. You just got to go out there and play ball, man. Have fun with it, and just enjoy each other while we're doing it. He's a big quarterback. He can run a little bit. Bigger guy. Like I've never seen him in person, but from what I hear, he's a big dude. He's a good playmaker. So we're gonna go out there and do what we got to do and make some plays.
No Devon Hamilton for the foreseeable future for the Jaguars, but stopping the run certainly against this Indy team, the way they're built, the way things are, it's priority number one.
Well, they have a very good offensive line. I mean, 2 years ago, they were considered one of the best offensive lines in football. Last year, they fell apart, allowed 60 sacks, injuries to Jonathan Taylor last year. The ankle injury probably derailed them as much as anything else. Now, not having Jonathan Taylor today gives that defensive line a chance to get adjusted to life without Devon Hamilton.
Those are some of this week's top stories. The Jaguars and the Colts coming up. Be here for the home opener next week. The Jaguars entertain the Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, a rematch from the postseason a year ago. Standing room tickets only. Jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. It's a teal out next week, Brian. Wear your teal.
I love teal. Love it.
Everybody loves teal.
I like the teal on white. I know the all-teal look is really popular. I always wanted to see teal pants, but I love the teal tops and the white pants, that classic uniform.
We'll see what they put out there next week, the Jaguars and the Chiefs. Let's go to Indianapolis. Kai Stevens standing by in the broadcast booth, Jaguars reporter. Week 1 is here, Kai, and it's an interesting quarterback matchup today. And in Indianapolis, they've got a new one and a guy that they have high hopes for.
It is interesting, and I don't know if Jags fans probably feels like a long time ago, but they were kind of in a similar situation where you're putting Trevor Lawrence out there in Game 1, and Anthony Richardson's going to be playing it in Game 1 as a rookie. What that's going to look like, we will have to see. Obviously, this team is very different from last year, and some of the things that might have helped him, like Jonathan Taylor, are not available to him right now. So his first true NFL game will be something to see. He was talking a little bit earlier in the week, and he really seems to be saying all the right things.
One of my coaches at Florida told me that pressure is for the unprepared, so I just try to prepare the best way I can, and not try to focus on the pressure, because a lot of people are going to try to put pressure on me, but I just got to rely on my teammates and myself so we can just go out there and play.
He certainly has the right mentality for it. Now we're just going to have to see what that turns into on the field.
Yeah, he's not Bugs Bunny. He can't play all positions. You got to have some guys around him. So, and the running back room is a little light, obviously, early in this season. We'll see what the wide receivers have to offer, but it feels like a lot of him in the game plan, at least the Jaguars, from what they've said, feel that way this week. Now, let's flip it around on the other side, Kai. We were just talking about Trevor Lawrence here and his maturation as this thing goes along. You can just see it day after day. Now you just got to go see it on the field.
And what's great about Trevor, obviously, I heard you guys talking a little bit about how he doesn't care about expectations, which you want to hear that. But then also, he has such a talented offense around him in terms of weapons and a very loaded wide receiver room. But he was talking a little bit earlier about how they really do seem to all get along, and no one seems to be trying to hit certain numbers and being selfish. They really do just want the team to win.
We all want to have good stats and we want to play well. That'd be ideal. You do that and win the game. But when we're talking about guys, you should always, if you win the game, doesn't really matter what your stat line is. Even if you have one catch, no catches, if I threw 2 picks and we win, obviously I'm not going to be happy with my performance, but I'm going to celebrate with the team. I'm going to be happy we won the game. That's what this league's about. It's hard to win. So when you find ways to win, that's the cool thing about our team is we enjoy it. We understand that it's hard to win, and we have that perspective of it's not really about personal stats, individual stats. It's about the team. And
I think fortunately we've turned a corner now with Trevor where I feel like his stats will be good and the team will be good, which is really ideal.
All the above would be nice. Brian, bring you in here. That could change, though, when the team's not winning, right? Later in a year, we've seen where they say all the right things early, and then things kind of go awry, and some of that can change. Not there yet. They haven't played a game, but that's when it can change.
Well, I'll go back to what Press Taylor told us in hour number 1, and that is that they look for high football character guys, guys who love the game, who love to play, who understand that you're not going to win every Sunday, and you have to go back to work and prepare. So, plus, the personalities. I mean, can you imagine a guy like Zay Jones losing it in the locker room about his stats? I can't, right? Christian Kirk's not going to do that. I don't know Calvin Ridley enough to know, but I don't expect his stats to really suffer. I just think that this blend of guys at this moment in time with this quarterback will find a way through that even if they're not winning.
Yeah, Kai, interesting matchup of quarterbacks today. Richardson making his NFL debut. Trevor Lawrence going into year 2 in this offense, and excited to see it. Finally, some real football, and let's see what this offense has to offer today.
I know, guys. I'm very excited to talk some actual football after the game and on Monday.
We'll do it then. Kai, have a great day in Indy. Enjoyed it.
Thanks. Bye.
Kai Stevens talking quarterbacks each and every Publix Tailgate show. For the full availability from Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence, visit the official team website, Jaguars.com, or the Jaguars YouTube page. Inactives about 15 minutes or so from right now. But up next, the Jaguars safety Rayshon Jenkins explains the takeaway mindset for this group that finished 4th in the league in that category a season ago. 1 o'clock kickoff time in Week 1. The Jaguars and the Colts coming up, and this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Want to make sure he gets to the game on time?
Tommy, your uniform is ready. Let's go.
Install a natural gas dryer, and you're guaranteed faster drying times and softer laundry. And now you can earn a valuable cash rebate up to $200 on an energy-efficient natural gas dryer. Show your home love with natural gas, and it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. SMART. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit ridesmartflorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Hi Jags fans, Andre Cisco here, safety of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, I've partnered up with Luray Peanut Company to serve a greater mission for the Jacksonville community with the Peanut Pickoff. Here's the deal. Every time the Jags make a pick, Luray is going to donate to youth football initiatives in and around the Jacksonville area. On top of that, the Jaguars Foundation will match every dollar. With each interception, our team inches closer to that W, and our kids get to train for a brighter future. Remember, it was always the Jags. Duval!
JP Shadrick with Brian Sexton from the Hyundai Studios. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. Mike Dempsey out this week. He'll be back with us next week. We're inside 2 hours from Week 1. The Jaguars and the Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium in downtown Indy. Let's take a look around the NFL and the schedule in Week 1. Already on Thursday Night Football, the Lions upset the Chiefs at Arrowhead in a fantastic game. Chiefs missing some key players in that matchup, but the Lions, give them credit. They got the job done on the road in Week 1 Thursday night in the kickoff game. Today, 1 o'clock kickoff times for the Panthers. Bryce Young making his debut against the Falcons. Bengals at the Browns, the Battle of Ohio at 1 o'clock today. Buccaneers visit the Minnesota Vikings with a 1 o'clock kick. Titans at the Saints, 1 o'clock also for the 49ers and Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. That's in Pittsburgh. Cardinals at the Commanders at 1. Texans get the Ravens in Week 1 in Baltimore. 4:25 window, Packers-Bears. Interesting quarterback matchup there. Of course, Love making his debut for Green Bay against the Bears. That's at Soldier Field. The Raiders at the Broncos at 4:25. Eagles at the Patriots. Dolphins-Chargers. How about that matchup in Week 1? That is out at SoFi Stadium, L.A. The Rams visit the Seahawks. And then Sunday Night Football, the Cowboys and the Giants. Then on Monday, the Bills and the Jets. What do you like Week 1 here?
Well, I'm obviously watching Tennessee at New Orleans. In the division, they're the only team that can give the Jaguars a run for this thing if everything goes right for them. And I still don't like them that much. But I'm going to watch that one carefully. And then the other ones are the Miami at L.A., I'm anxious to see how LA responds after. Their last game, they walked off the field here beaten after they had a 27-0 lead.
Stunning.
They've changed offensive coordinators, brought in Kellen Moore. I love Justin Herbert. I just love to watch that guy throw the ball because he is so gifted. But he's going up against Tua and a Miami team that we know can score. Speed all over the field. That'll be a really fun game to watch. And then the Bills and Jets because, 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers coming off an 8-9 season. And I just read Rex Ryan's comments that this is the most talented New York Jets team ever. Somebody cue Joe Namath and the Super Bowl III team. I know that goes back a ways. But let's see, right? Because the Bills have been a challenger. The Jets were, a doormat last year. Let's see what they've got.
That roster, though, on paper.
It's good.
They've put together a team in New York. That is, it's been the story of the offseason in the NFL, really.
But they're gambling that they're going to have the same result with Aaron Rodgers that the Bucs got with Tom Brady and that the Broncos got with Peyton Manning. And it makes sense. You're talking about a 4-time MVP, but it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed with a 40-year-old quarterback. So I'm really anxious to watch that game because I think those two teams are good. It's going to be a great game.
Here's a look around the National Football League in Week 1. The Jaguars' defense finished 4th in the NFL in takeaways last season, and a big reason why was the play of safety Rayshon Jenkins. I caught up with him in the locker room this week, and he told me the Jags' defense has the right mindset entering this regular season.
We feeling real good, man. We got most guys that we had last year come back, so we feeling real good together. The team chemistry is there, and we know in order to go, 2-0, you got to go 1-0, and so on and so forth.
How difficult is preparation for a team like Indy that has so many new pieces, new parts, the running back room's in question, new head coach, big physical quarterback? There's a lot to really study here, right?
Yeah, I think just that being on top of Week 1 as well. You don't really have any real tendencies to go off of. It's not like it's week 4 or 5 to where, they kind of played a little bit and you got some tendencies. So just being on top of Week 1, being on top of new faces, new quarterback, new system as well. We know that offensive coordinator came from the Eagles staff. So it'll be interesting. I think this week is more so of, just read your keys, line up, and, and just be smart. We got to be situationally smart. We know what type of quarterback this is. We know he likes to use his legs and just, just be aware of everything.
If you keep him contained, though, he can throw one up to you, and that's when the back end can go eat, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's another thing that we've seen on film. He did in week in the preseason at some point. But overall, he's a good, talented quarterback, and, we respect anybody that steps out on that field on Sundays.
Turnovers obviously were huge for this team last season, early and then late in the season. So it's a mindset. We talked about this before. You got to have that mindset going in, but then when you have the opportunities, you got to go make those plays.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We just understand as a defense that turnovers. That's our formula for success. We know we're playing against some good teams. They're gonna make their plays. We're gonna make ours. But at the end of the day, that ball is the most important thing on the field.
How much better of a player are you now than you were maybe a year, 2, 3 ago?
I just think that goes for just any player just being, in a similar system and just having experience in the NFL. I think every year you should probably progress unless you get up there in age, like too far in age to where, you just physically can't endure some of the things your body used to. But, yeah, I definitely think I'm a lot better player than I was 4 years ago, even last year. I want to be able to be consistent and prove that I'm that type of player.
You mentioned it earlier, the continuity. A lot of the starters are back on this defense, play callers back on defense. All you guys growing together. How real is that, and how will that show up on the field?
It's real, man. We do little things like we may go eat at one of the players' house or something like that. So it's more than just on the field. It's the off the field stuff as well, and understand that these are. Your real brothers, and that, you're trying to feed their family as well as they're trying to feed yours.
Divisional game to start. They're all important, but the AFC South games are number 1, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta win every game in the division. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to be seeded right, you want that home field advantage at the end of the year, and just to make sure you find a spot in that playoffs, you got to win your division.
It's Rayshon Jenkins, veteran safety, and he was fantastic down the stretch last season, making big plays, interceptions, the forced fumble in the final week of the regular season.
Those two plays were two of the best, most impactful plays in Jaguars history, 2 of the top 5 ever on defense.
And if one of them doesn't happen, they're not in the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, and you could say that about every other game down the stretch as well if one thing goes wrong. But Rayshawn, it's now his 3rd year in Jacksonville coming up. He was here in 21, so he's seen the lows. He's seen the highs of last season, and having this whole group back together, especially on the back end, with the corners playing out there, those guys are going to be in the right spot. Veteran nickel, right, and Trey Herndon, a guy who knows where he's going to be. And then the safety play is just only getting better and better as it goes.
Well, and Andre Sisco is such an intellectual player. I mean, he's a guy who understands what's going on. And last year, it was his 2nd year in the league, but his 1st year on the field in a starting role. And Rayshawn Jenkins had to take notice of that and kind of get him lined up and in position early on. Well, now Rayshawn Jenkins, he's a lightning bolt. I mean, he's an energetic guy. I'm interested to see how this duo plays, because I think now you're going to have Sisco on his own doing his thing, and you're going to be free to do some different things with Rayshawn Jenkins.
And Sisco hit the weight room this offseason, too. I mean, he comes back in the offseason, he looks like a different guy, and we'll see how he has to learn to play with that extra bulk as well.
I know that people are looking at the secondary because you've got one corner that we expect is going to get a payday next year, and another in Darius Williams that we're wondering if he can keep his level of performance high. But when you look at them from 1 to 10, they have a nice mix. And we're not even counting Antonio Johnson, and what he brings. And, boy, was he playing well before he pulled the hamstring in Detroit. And this is a guy that can play the big nickel. He can play inside. He can do a lot of things. They are set up for success with this group over the long haul.
It helps when you have a rush to help out that back end, a consistent rush. They felt like they were close up front last year. They missed 20-something sacks, is what Brinson Buckner told me at some point, that they literally either had a hand on the quarterback or were close enough to make a tackle and couldn't do it. Well, you got to finish those and keep that pressure on to help the football fly down the field. And maybe you're going to be playing with a lead a little bit more. That would be a hope in the second half.
Josh Allen told me in a television production meeting in Detroit last month that if he just finishes the plays that he had, there were some plays where he decided, I'm going to try to get the ball out before he focused on the sack, that he would have made more plays, but he took too many chances. So the word that he's got written, on his tape is finish all season long. If he finishes, it'll open things up for the other guys, and Trayvon Walker should open some things up for him this year.
And that means the ball's flying out or on the ground or up in the air to the secondary or whatever the case may be. That would be a great way to continue and great way to finish his rookie contract, by the way, if he gets some of those.
He's betting on himself, and he's very confident in himself. If you know Josh at all, when you see the money that Nick Bosa got from the Niners, now they have Brock Purdy playing on a rookie quarterback, and you're going to have to pay Trevor Lawrence, so the money's not likely to be the same. However, it's a lot of cash, and if that doesn't motivate you, this is professional football. It's about the money. Go get it.
Hear all of our conversations and press conferences from the week on the official Jaguars Podcast Network. It's free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts, and on Jaguars.com. Just click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. And in just a little bit, Frank Frangie will join us from the broadcast booth. Up next, Inactives and a pregame huddle-up podcast with Bucky Brooks and John Oehser at Lucas Oil Stadium. We're about an hour and a half away from kickoff in Week 1. The Jaguars and the Colts coming up, and this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Everyone
wins when two great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan Nacho Carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
JP Shadrick with Brian Sexton from the Hyundai Studios. The Jaguars and the Colts coming up at 1 o'clock. Lucas Oil Stadium, Indy, the site for Week 1 kickoff weekend. The Jaguars and this highly anticipated 2023 campaign about to get underway an hour and a half from right now. It's time for the inactives. We start off with the Jaguars players who will sit today. Rookie wide receiver and kick returner Parker Washington will sit out. Elijah Cooks, wide receiver, inactive. Christian Braswell, cornerback, a rookie, is out today. Jermichael Hasty, running back, inactive. Antonio Johnson on the injury report. He was ruled out at the end of the week. The rookie safety is down today. And Tyler Lacey, also in the injury report this week. Defensive lineman is out. The Jaguars have elevated Ross Blacklock from the practice squad, a defensive lineman. He played 11 games last season with Minnesota. What you got for the Colts, Bri?
Well, the only one that really stands out is Zach Moss, the starting running back today. The backup to Jonathan Taylor is down. DeForest Buckner, who was added to the injury report on Friday, is active. And just a local note, Will Mallory, people go, Will Mallory, the son of longtime Jaguars special teams coordinator Mike Mallory, the Providence High product, and the Miami Hurricane, who was their fifth-round pick, inactive today. That's the only other one of note.
There you have it. The players down. The inactives are in for Week 1 in the National Football League. The Colts did elevate a couple players off their practice squad yesterday. Jake Funk, running back, with the injury to Moss, and Juwan Winfrey, wide receiver, both available for the Colts today. Let's go to Lucas Oil Stadium. Why not? Indianapolis, the home of the Colts, the house that John Oehser built. And he's standing in there right now with Bucky Brooks. This is a pregame Huddle Up podcast. And, well, good afternoon, guys. Good morning still, I suppose. But Week 1 is finally here. And, let's start with all the hype around this Jaguars team. There's been a lot of press, a lot of good press for this Jags team. A lot of people picking the Jaguars to go to the Super Bowl and be the number 1 seed and win the MVP with the quarterback and all that. How does Doug Peterson keep this team grounded? Does he have to do much with this group? Because, John, I think we've talked about it this week. This Jags team hasn't done anything yet. This Jags team. They've got to start
it's tough
this
because
week.
Bucky was locking everything this week and, talking about the playoffs and the Super Bowl and all-time stuff. So it's tough with Bucky talking about it here. But, I think Doug does have that on his mind a little bit in terms of, there's so much potential. And you do feel like the players have – I feel talking to them like they have the right blend of confidence, of knowing they need to be ready. I personally can't imagine that they feel that overconfident because they won one more game than they lost last year and had to come from behind 5 times. I mean, a lot had to go right for them to get in the playoffs of basically 3 minutes. But human nature is what it is. I think they're going to come out and be on fire and play very well early in the season. It has that feel of a team to me. But you don't know it till you see it, Bucky.
No, you don't know it till you see it. And I'll say this because, look, I believe the hype is real. But I also believe that this will be the hardest game that they play because it's the first one. And with all the hype and the expectations, their natural instinct is to want to come out and blow the Indianapolis Colts out the building. And in this game, in this environment, what Doug Peterson has to convince the team to focus on is one play at a time, one game at a time. You can't try and knock them out right away. You're not going to beat them in the first 5 minutes of the game. You got to slowly and methodically beat them. And so if they can kind of settle in, and it'll take them a while to settle in, they settle in and just kind of execute like they've been, they'll play to the level of expectation. But this is one where it's not really about the Colts. It's more so the Jaguars competing against themselves and outside expectations kind of filtering in where they feel like they have to be the best team in the league each week when they really only have to be the best team in the stadium.
All right, Bucky and John, let me recycle a storyline from the offseason that kind of got into the first week of the training camp and then kind of fell off, and that was the performance of second-year defenders, right? We're talking about Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, and Chad Muma, and how their progress will speak directly to the progress this defense makes. How do you see those 3 players starting the season off today in Indianapolis?
Well, it's critical, and you're right. It was an off-season storyline. We talked about it in training camp, and then, it sort of seemed like Devin Lloyd was aware during training camp and preseason, which is what sort of bit him sometimes. So I think, and then it was hard to tell with Trayvon Walker because you're waiting for pass rush from him, and it's realistically hard to tell if a guy's going to be a good pass rusher in a very limited preseason work. There's so much that has to happen in terms of playing off what an offensive lineman's doing. So I think now that sort of restarts. To me, if those 3 guys, especially Devin Lloyd and Trayvon, if Devin is the sort of playmaking, turnover, producing guy that he was in college, boy, that changes the defense, Bucky. So yes, I think it's back to being key because if those 3 are what they were drafted to be, then all of a sudden this has a chance to be top 10, 12 stout defense.
Yeah, it's a reality. When you draft the players in the first round and the first 2 rounds, your expectation is year 2 they should be impact players. And so for Trayvon Walker, for Devin Lloyd, and for Chad Muma, the expectation is that they play and they are a big part of making plays, splash plays. For Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd in particular, defensively, you're counting on those guys to get the ball back in some way, shape, or form. Knock the quarterback down, knock the ball out, pick off passes. That's what you're looking for. And so you've had a full year to adjust to being in the National Football League. The coaches have had a full year to kind of understand your strengths and weaknesses. So this year you should see more production, better performance from all of those guys.
Yeah, I guess, Brian, we don't know if they are, but they better be, right?
I totally agree with that.
Absolutely, they should. Bucky Brooks and John Oehser joining us from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. All right, the Jaguars' offense has been hyped up. All the receivers are back. They've added Calvin Ridley. They've added a running back in the draft. They added another tight end in the draft. They've just added things to what's already here. What does it look like today? How do you attack this Colts defense, Bucky?
With discipline and patience. Trevor Lawrence, this is a game where Trevor Lawrence has to kind of stay within himself. He can't rush to try and create the big play. The way Gus Bradley wants to play, he wants to throw an umbrella over the offense. He wants the offense to take 10 to 12 plays to drive the ball down the field. He's willing to play the odds that over those 10 to 12 plays, something bad is going to happen for the offense. A penalty, a drop ball, a mental mistake that puts them behind the chains, and then he's going to be able to dictate the turns with his defense. So Trevor Lawrence has to maybe be a check down guy today. Take the short underneath stuff, allow the playmakers to kind of do things on catch and run concepts, and then he has to be stellar in the red zone. So when you get to the 20s, when the field is condensed, Trevor Lawrence is going to have to make a handful of pinpoint throws in tight windows for the Jaguars to score touchdowns as opposed to settling for field goals.
Yeah, and here's where I think the Jaguars are going to be okay. And maybe it's not a preseason storyline because we haven't talked about it enough. This team ran the ball really well in preseason, and they think that they're going to be a really good running team. Travis Etienne looked fantastic in the time he played. Tank Bigsby looks like a guy who's going to be, I think he could start for a lot of teams, but he won't because of Etienne. If they're as good running the ball as we've all talked about a few times when we're really digging deep into this team, then I think they'll be okay playing the way they need to play today to win.
For the last couple of years, we talked about there not being a lot of dangerous players on the Jaguars roster. Nobody that other teams had to really account for to take out of the game. That's changed since Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson started working together. But I'm looking at the Colts right now, and Bucky in particular. I don't see any threats from the Colts. I don't see those game-wrecking players. Maybe DeForest Buckner in the middle, although he's going to play with a forearm injury today. You could say Shaq Leonard, but he hasn't really been on the field the last 2 years. Who are the players who can threaten the Jaguars today?
See, this would be a quotable because I would say no one. There's no one here that if you came into the meeting room, you say, guys, we're playing the Indianapolis Colts. Here are the guys that we have to look out for. There's no one that is a top 100 player on the sheet. The only guy that we can talk about is DeForest Buckner. He's slowed by an injury. Quentin Nelson hasn't played at the high level, plus he doesn't touch the ball. There's not that guy. So what you have to do if you're the Jaguars, the expectation is if they don't have anyone who can really impact the game like that, your goal is to dominate them. Don't give them life. Don't allow them to have a Johnny-come-lately make plays. And so if you're the coaching staff all week, you've been on your team to lock in and don't give them a yard. And so the expectation is when the Jags are on defense, man, it should be really difficult for the Colts to move the football. And then offensively, even though Gus Bradley employs a style that forces you to be really patient, they still don't have the guys because this is a player's game. You got to have players to win at a high level. If the Jaguars just play within themselves, eventually they'll crack the code, and they'll find a way to score points, and they'll find a way to get takeovers.
Yeah, I think Richardson in the right situation scares you a little bit to be able to make plays like what you're talking about. But in the big picture, no. And I said a couple times this week, if these teams played 20 times this year, you take the Jaguars 17 or 18 times on paper, but it's not played on paper, and the fear is this one of those one or two that they could get because it's the NFL. So I think that's really what you're looking at is a game where clearly I think everybody would be stunned if the Colts are ahead of the Jaguars at the end of the regular season. But week one, all those things we talked about, those are real things, and you don't want things to get real negative, quirky early for the Jags because that can put you behind and make you tighten up the rest of the game. First quarter really big on that front to me.
All right, roof closed today, we're told. Jim Irsay tweeted that out today. How's the environment in Indy for week one?
Oh, I just love this place, JP. It's week one. They're going to be fired up, and let's watch the Jags take it out of their hands in the first half, right, guys?
Hey, JP, it's quiet as church up in here. It's it's all that we're waiting for the offering plate to go around. It's festive, but I would say I've seen a lot of Jaguars fans walking around town and all this. Like, the expectation is going to be a party, but it should be the Jaguars party. The only thing, JP, I want you to do is we're talking about the key to the game. Yep. Write these 4 little letters down, DBOs with a little S. Don't beat ourselves. No turnovers, no pre-snap penalties or foolish penalties, no kicking game errors. And, look, if you just make sure that you don't allow the ball to fly over our head, the Jaguars are going to win this. So as long as the Jaguars don't beat themselves, it'll be fine.
DBOs, JP.
Don't beat ourselves.
Don't beat ourselves. We'll keep that in mind today. Have a great day, guys.
Guys, thanks.
Check out the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show. It's Wednesdays at 4 on Jaguars.com and Jaguars YouTube. We are inside 20 minutes from Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff starts at noon Eastern. We'll come back with some players to watch in today's game, and we'll hear from Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. The Jaguars and the Colts coming up at 1 o'clock to kick off the regular season. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Football and Miller Lite. Duval's greatest pairing. Can cracks and kickoff. Tailgates going well past postgame. Sunday night overtime. Followed by Monday morning pride. Knocking on bar tops for luck. Kicking back on any given Sunday. You never forget the way some things taste. Jags football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
The 2023 season is awesome. Introducing the Four-Legged Fan Club, the Jaguars' official fan club for pets. Presented by Forever Vets Animal Hospital, your furry friend can access exclusive merchandise, events, and sweepstakes throughout the season. Fan club members will be automatically entered to win the Pet of the Game sweepstakes with 2 Jags tickets and sideline passes for pet owners and a chance for your pet to be featured on the video boards as Pet of the Game. Visit Jaguars.com/promotions/Four-Legged Fan Club to sign up.
When it comes to water, choose our team, the winning team. Choose CGC Water Treatment. CGC Water Treatment works, and it works for DG too, former Jags QB, David Garrard.
If you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Discover the Kinetico difference.
Call CGC Water Treatment at 844-CGC-JAGS or visit cgcwater.com. CGC Water Treatment are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars and your local independent Kinetico dealers.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Football season is finally here, and with that, hopefully comes cooler weather. And if you've been wanting to upgrade your outdoor living space and just haven't pulled the trigger, you should call the experts at Lifetime Enclosures right now. From glass lanais to screened-in enclosures, Lifetime Enclosures and Flooring is the best in the business. Give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick, Brian Sexton from the Hyundai Studios. Mike Dempsey out this week. We'll be back next week for the Chiefs game. The Jaguars and the Colts close again on the 1 o'clock kickoff time at Lucas Oil Stadium in downtown Indianapolis. Brian, let's get some players to watch in today's game. One from each side of the ball for the Jags. Who are you looking out for?
All right, Travis Etienne, because the passing game seems to be so explosive. I'm curious to see how Press Taylor will utilize the running game and how they'll mix up Tank Bigsby with Travis. So I'm really eager to see Travis Etienne's role because I think more so than Bigsby, he's a multi-dimensional threat. Line him up in the slot, the jet sweep in motion. Etienne is an absolute powder keg if they find ways to get him the ball. And on defense, this was the game last year where Devin Lloyd fell down, right? Michael Pittman, if you recall, had his best game. He was targeted 16 times. 16 targets for Michael Pittman. He caught 13 of them for 134 yards. They were 10 of 15 on third down, most of those to Pittman, and they had 22 passing first downs. Devin Lloyd could not handle how Matt Ryan and that former Colts offensive staff attacked him last year. He seemed lost in the middle of the field. So I'm watching him today to see how he rebounds.
For me, Calvin Ridley, right? New wide receiver, totally. Hasn't played in nearly 2 years. We've heard him all offseason and his expectations and his confidence in being back. He's healthy. He's mentally right. He's got everything going the right direction. Let's see it on the field today in week 1 with the rest of this group against cornerbacks for the Colts who are young and inexperienced. Can they take advantage of that today? And then on the defensive side, well, they're going to stop the run. Roy Robertson-Harris is the guy to really set the tone up front today. Without Devon Hamilton available, Foley Fatukasi you could put in there also. But Roy's the guy who was talking this week in the locker room, and he's the captain on defense, and he sets the tone up front, not only in the handoff run game, but in the quarterback run game as well. If they're going to set the tone against Anthony Richardson, RRH is my guy.
Devon Hamilton's a big loss. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was just trashing the inside of the Cowboys' offensive line, and that's a good inside Cowboys line. And the Jags paid him in the offseason. But Roy Robertson-Harris is more than up for the challenge of being that guy. He has got shoulders that just go sideline to sideline, and his reach is spectacular. So I see him being a wrecking ball in the middle of that Colts line.
Let's go to Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis and welcome in Jaguars play-by-play announcer Frank Frangie. Week 1 is finally here. I'll ask you the same question we just answered, Frank. Give me a guy on each side of the ball that could stand out in today's game, at least against the Colts.
Yeah, good morning, JP and Brian, and I hear you, and I think Brian might have hit it with Travis Etienne because I don't think you're going to see a lot of balls over the top. But I'll go ahead and go Christian Kirk because I think what he does as well as anybody on this team and even in the league is work the middle of that field, JP. So I would say Christian Kirk is probably going to be my guy offensively because I don't think you're going to see a lot of balls down the field. Calvin Ridley's going to have a big year. He's going to take the top off the defense some. But I think this is a game where you work the middle of the field a little bit, so give me Christian Kirk. And defensively, I think you got to watch that RPO game. You talked about Devin Lloyd. I'll go Foye Oluokun. I think quarterback, that eye discipline the football people talk about matters today. The RPO game, there's going to be some quarterback run stuff from Shane Steichen with Anthony Richardson, whether that's naked, whether it's RPOs. You know he's going to take off and run some. You know that. So how you manage that, I think, is a big part of this game.
Frank, there's a lot of hype around this Jaguars team, and they haven't done anything yet. They went to 2 playoff games last year, lost the second one in the divisional round, rallied in the first one, obviously, in the wild card round. This team, this 2023 team, is all off-season storylines so far. They have to start today to really put that on paper as their record. So how do they possibly live up to all this hype? And this hype, how does it compare to some years past? I don't know if it compares to much. Maybe the year after 17, maybe obviously in the late 90s there was a lot of hype around some good football teams, but this is almost uncharted water.
JP, I think you hit the story of at least the preseason story of this team. Number one, how does it compare? You're right. I think it feels way more sustainable than 18 did. 18 was exciting because they got so close in 17, but it feels way more sustainable than that. It does remind you a little bit of those late 90s when they had a really good team. This is a really good team. I don't know if it's as good as that team. That team in 99 might have had the best team in the league, certainly among them. But I think they have a really good team. But I think you hit it, man. This is a team that is not used to playing with these kind of expectations. And no matter how much you say it's just another game, you still play the game, you still prepare the same way, there's still emotion involved. Now when they show up, they're getting everybody's best punch, which you didn't always get that. They're human beings. Sometimes you're not as up. So I think one of the big storylines of this season, JP, is what you said, is how does this team that is not accustomed to being looked at as one of the best teams in the league, how do they manage the fact that that's the way people feel about them and that's the way other teams will approach them when the game comes around? I really believe that.
Frank, Press Taylor's going to dial it up full-time now on the offensive side, the offensive coordinator. So how does that shouldn't change a whole lot. He did it in the second half, but he's got plenty of weapons to deal with today.
Yeah, I think it's still Press and Doug. They're still building the game plan all week long. They're still getting with Trevor and seeing what Trevor likes. They're still formulating. They're still writing the book together, JP. Now, who pushes the button on game day can change a little bit. I don't sense a whole lot of changing. Doug's too smart to fix something that wasn't broken. He's too smart to go change something that didn't need change. So that'll get a lot of attention today because the story just broke today, JP. Yeah. But I'd be a little surprised if we see a whole lot that looks or feels any different from a play calling standpoint than we've seen in the past. I really would.
And then defensively, we talked about it all morning, and it's the number one priority for the Indianapolis Colts offense. It's the running quarterback, the NFL debut of Anthony Richardson, the number 4 overall pick. He has the dual threat ability. He was inconsistent in the air at Florida. He was a fantastic, unbelievable athlete. Can that translate, and how do the Jaguars defend him today?
I think there's two things. Just when I talked about it when I said Foye Oluokun, JP. Number one, the quarterback running is going to be in play today. Whether it's called plays, whether it's RPO, whether it's stuff he does off schedule, that's going to somehow, some way, he's going to affect the game or try to affect the game as a runner. Everybody knows that. As a passer, look, he completed less than 50% in the preseason when their other two quarterbacks were in the 70s. So he's not a guy that's going to go 25 for 28. That's just not who he is, at least not yet, JP. But here's what he's got a big arm. You can't go to sleep on his arm because he could be very effective for a passer or as a passer for 3 or 4 throws in a row and then hit that big one. So you got to be aware of the fact that even though he's not an accurate passer, he's not a high percentage guy, he's got the big arm and he can get you over the top. I think that's a big part of this game.
Well, Frank, enjoy it. Bring back a W from Indy.
I will, fellas. And I heard Bucky talking to you about all the Jags fans that got here. There's a Jags presence here in Indianapolis, so we're looking forward to it.
The takeover, a Duval takeover.
It is. It feels that way.
I love that. Frank Frangie joining us from Lucas Oil Stadium. Apparently Duval North today in Week 1, and it's finally here, Brian. Week 1, real football. We're about an hour away from a divisional game to get it started.
I think people can go back to the end of last season. The big dramatic win over the Titans and the dramatic come-from-behind win over the Chargers. Things didn't go that way in Kansas City, but I think most people realized that was a long shot. This year, no long shots. They think this team is ready to go. I do too. I think the way this schedule sets up, I think all the factors are there. If the Jaguars stay healthy and if they stay, humble's not the right word, but it's the only one I can think of. If they stay grounded, humble, if they're focused, this team has everything it takes to be a contender when the season is over.
Well, they got the right leadership to keep them all of those things, It feels like, too. A guy who's been there and done that with some significant changes on that team in Philly. They figured out how to keep that team together. He's got a pelt on the wall.
It's the golden age of Jaguars football. It opens right now.
Today,
the
1 hour. 1 hour away from Jaguars Radio Network coverage is next. 1 hour away from kickoff. We're counting down to kickoff. When we come back, we'll hear from Fred Taylor. We'll hear from Doug Peterson. We'll hear from Kenny Albert, the NFL on Fox. He has the call of today's game. Jaguars Colts coming up. And thanks for listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.